So things like short temper and tantrums, are those mild cases of mental health?
I wouldn't say mild cases. They could be. Remember when we decide that you have mental health, we'll have to do a proper assessment. For example, when you have short-tempered, is it also coming with aggression? Is it also coming with anger? And then we have to assess, where is this anger coming from? It's also a sign of your inability to really process your emotions. Most people who would be short-tempered or a bit aggressive, they struggle with dealing with emotions. Mental health, if not well taken care of, it affects everything. It doesn't only destroy marriage, it destroys your life. From destroying your life, it will destroy your marriage. I mean, an example that is mostly famous is addiction. That's a mental illness. Addiction is an illness, and that is why they would always tell you, once you are diagnosed with addiction, you manage it. It doesn't get healed. It doesn't get
Doesn't matter what addiction.
No, whether it's alcohol, substances, pornography, whatever.
Bishop Son came and said, musicians are like car guards.
Yes.
And you went on YouTube.
Yes.
And you said this pastor is used by the devil.
Yes. I can justify that. When you're in the industry, you're the odd one out. You're the odd one out. You're like a light, you understand? And then you living righteously is like keeping that light on.
And there's a big fight between musicians who went to school and self-taught. And
I'm not part of that fight.
No, but it's hard to fight. It's loosely.
Yeah.
It's banter or whatever.
But I just want to put it out that I'm not part of that fight.
So the ones who didn't go to school, you went to school, but look, we're playing this now. We're gigging. And you went to school, you are good at what you do. And
but you're working.
But people who didn't even go to school are working. Does that stuff work on your psyche?
I would ask a lot of people, maybe you can help me with that. What are the most important thing in a relationship?
Besides sex?
Yeah.
You are responsible for what you say.
Yeah, definitely.
Everything, the views
are not necessarily yours.
They are not mine. They are yours. Yeah. So yeah. So how feel go
fire away, bro.
Yeah.
Let's make it as authentic as possible.
House.
Yeah.
I'm on scroll. It is cool. Come on, cheap, authentic. I think. Bakamira street representative.
Funny guy.
All right, Rishabh.
Yeah.
All right. Our ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on the Gospel Reality Podcast. We are back again and again. And today we're talking about something very important, something that I think that every community member should be well aware of, because these kind of people we make fun of, we isolate them without not really understanding that it can happen to anyone. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about something very, very, very deep and something I need more knowledge on. We're talking mental health. And of course, like a lot of you know, I'm not equipped, nor am I even qualified to even talk about this particular topic. Now we know, Bazalwane, that we don't only deal with just ordinary people, dealing with Bazalwane, our fellow Christians. So I made sure I get a pastor, not just a pastor, I get a clinical psychologist.
Yes.
Yeah. This man, I used to laugh at his English when we were growing up, and I later learned that no, English is not a way of showing intelligence. It's just a means of communication, you know. Now, when I need advice, I call him, né? And I've seen that he's very smart. He's my uncle, but I need to put this disclaimer. He was named after me, and I'm older than him. So you do the maths, you know. African family vibes, you know. Things are not. My brother, how are you?
I'm doing
Sorry,
well.
my uncle.
I was about to correct you.
Oh, sorry. Malume, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah.
So, Malume is a clinical psychologist.
Yes, a clinical psychologist.
Dr. England. Ne? It
Yes,
is.
yes, they normally refer to us as that.
As that, ne? So let me read this to you. Mental health includes our emotions, physical and social well-being. It affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to each other, and make healthy choices. Mental health is important at every stage of our lives, from childhood to adolescence, right through to adulthood.
Yes, yes.
Have they summarized it correctly?
Yes, yes. I would even make it more shorter, that how you think about things or perceive things determines how you feel, and how you feel will determines how you behave. So in a nutshell, that's that. So when you see something, you're scared of it. It's a perception you have. You're going to be scared, and the behavior is you might run away. So your thoughts, your perceptions determines your feelings, and your feelings determines your behavior. Yeah.
So now I forgot to put another disclaimer.
Yes.
He's a pastor, this man. So every statement. So how mobile like a psychology, a reporter like a so the connotation with psychology and Christianity, is there a connotation?
You mean where they merge?
Where do they meet? Is there crossroad?
Yes, remember that when we do psychology, we do holistically. You have to be healthy in your body, you have to be healthy in your emotions, your brain, and also your spiritual. So we do attend to that specifically, because you can't have one missing while the others are there, so it's not a balance. So your spiritual aspect is also important as much as your mental well-being, as much as your well-being in your body. It's very important. They work all together.
They work together, ne?
Yeah.
So I need to ask this. When I say I am spiritually mature,
Yes,
grown,
yes.
does that mean my mental health is also at par?
Not necessarily. Remember that some people might focus on one area of their life and forget the other. Like we would notice that, especially when you look more in the Christian space, we don't really take care of our mental health. People simply speak about depression, that it's something that you can just kick away. I'm just giving an example. But they could be spiritually strong, they could be spiritually rooted, but then they have a lot of struggles. For example, there are people who are spiritually strong but are struggling with addictions, for example. That tells you the imbalance that this individual is solely because they would take care of one side of their life or not the other. Yeah.
So, as a 5-year-old, ne?
Yeah.
It's me as a 5-year-old.
Yes.
So obviously, mental health has got a lot of subcategories in Kiloba.
Yes.
Nali, there's a lot of them, ne?
Yes.
So if you had to explain to a 5-year-old, ne? You did explain to me, but I'm not sure.
Yes.
A 5-year-old. Papa, what is mental health?
Mental health, it's something that affects, like I said, your thinking, which will then affect your emotions, which will then affect your behavior. So when you are mentally unhealthy, it's almost like you're doing something that is behaviorally not acceptable. You understand me? For example, people, when we say they need mental health, is because they're doing something that is not acceptable. I don't use the word acceptable, but English is escaping.
There are social norms and standards.
Norms and standards, yes. So
Okay.
something that is more traditional or known. When people start acting differently from that, then we say that they have a problem with their mental health. And like we said, there are different kinds. There are those that relate with mood. There are those that relate with your psycho. There are those that relate with your body. So there are a lot of them that we can actually look and attend to.
Okay, so let me give you an example. Ne? When I drive long distance, I listen to music and I get tired of music.
Yes.
Then I switch off the radio. After doing that, I start having conversations with myself.
Yes.
I used to think that's normal until I started having a dialogue now. Am I okay?
No, if it's a dialogue, that means you're hearing something else, then there's a problem. But if you are talking and answering yourself, it's still a monologue.
Yeah,
So-
I'm talking and answering myself.
Yeah, but then you're not hearing stuff. It's almost like if you think, it's just that now you're thinking aloud. And remember that all of us, all the things that we would use to determine if someone has a mental illness, all of us have them. All of us have experienced them, and all of us have displayed them in our life. The bigger thing with your mental health is that it does not affect your functioning. You understand me? I can give you an example. You are driving at night and there's a car following you. You turn right, it turns right. You turn left, it turns left. What do you think?
We are going to the same place.
Okay. Most people will then think this person is following me.
Following me.
So that's what we call delusions.
Oh.
So with people that are more not well mentally, they would actually react to that. Someone might stop and confront, why are you following me? So if it affects your function, because almost everything we use, most of us have experienced them. We have experienced paranoia. There are times even when you sit alone and you hear like your voice was called somewhere. So that would be more hallucinations. But the only thing is, one, it doesn't affect your functioning. Two, it doesn't, you don't actually entertain it or follow it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that scenario, like I'm driving and I talk to myself, but the other voice, I change the accent. is that
The thing about mental health is that you are not aware of it. But if you know that I'm changing my voice so that it sounds like two people are talking, then you're still in control.
Oh, okay. Hey, I'm safe. Hey, I thought you could say, but all right. I think I've gotten the gist of it, Joban. So things like short temper and tantrums, are those mild cases of mental health?
I wouldn't say mild cases. They could be. Remember when we decide that you have mental health, we'll have to do a proper assessment. For example, when you have short-tempered, is it also coming with aggression? Is it also coming with anger? And then we have to assess, where is this anger coming from? It's also a sign of your inability to really process your emotions. Most people who would be short-tempered or a bit aggressive, they struggle with dealing with emotions, meaning that they probably don't express their emotions. They mostly bottled it up, and with that, then you almost lose it. You lose control of it. Mostly, I would give an example when it comes to emotional expression. Would be, think of blowing a balloon. If you blow a balloon, it blows up, but if you don't stop, it's going to pop. So with your emotions as well, I always say to people, think yourself as that balloon. With every emotion that comes in, it's the breath that comes into that balloon. And the more it goes, if you don't find an outlet or a way to process it, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And when it pops, it's a sign where you lose control. Then you will individually will have anger outbursts, short tempers, because there's a lot of emotions are trying to come out, and you are also actually
suppressing them
to the subconscious. Yeah.
Okay. It makes sense. Is it the same as when somebody does something to me and I say it's too small,
Yes.
and then it gets to a point where at the end it's even a joke that can make make the balloon pop.
Yes, that would be the last thing that comes. Because remember, with males, we are taught to be able to express emotions that are anger, aggression. So we tend not to struggle with those emotions, because more often than not we would express them. But when you have with emotions that we consider to be soft, we would be...
You mean women?
Men. That's why we're going to be affected, because we are taught not to cry.
Okay.
When you feel something that is not manly, it feels wrong, and that's mostly what you keep in. Whereas with women, it would be the other way around, because society doesn't expect them to be aggressive. They tend to suppress those emotions, and that's where but either one that you do, it always affects you. And like I always say, emotions is like an alarm. Once you feel something, your body is trying to tell you, take care of this. And if you ignore it, it's going to be problematic.
I see. Is that then why men die before women?
I'm not sure about that.
I want to stress. I read somewhere men generally die before women. How about check out lifespan in terms of ratio? So,
are you aware that men are more emotional than women? Women are more expressive emotionally. Men are not, but that doesn't mean they're not emotional. Meaning that what happens is they struggle with emotional stuff. Think when you are a baby, when you are naughty, your mom will give you that attention and take care of you. Most dad would always say, get out of my face. They are not chasing you away because they are angry. They are avoiding what they are feeling because it's not supposed to be manly. I'm not supposed to feel maybe pity for you. I'm not supposed to say, as a child, how do you take care of a child? I'm supposed to. So this I cannot take care of. I can take care of if someone is attacking you, then I have to protect you. But now I have to sit you on an emotional level and explain how this you are doing is going to affect you when you grow up. So most men can't express emotions. So instead they will push you away, which is a sign of emotional weakness. Because if you can't express your emotions, because people will say, I did not say it because I wanted to be strong. But the strong person is a person who knows when they feel something and how to process it and how to deal with it. That's actually strength more than keeping it in, because keeping it in makes you weaker. It eats you up.
So having mental equilibrium is not really knowing what is for women and what is for men.
Yes, emotions are emotions.
So when you came out of your door, did your wife come and open your door?
No. I went out. Remember, that has nothing to do with emotions.
But it's how you feel, I get as well.
Biblically, I would not say love is an emotion.
What is love?
Love is a person, is God.
Hey.
And love is not a feeling, because if you have feelings come and go. They come because something is happening. Love is something that stays with you. It's something that guides you. When you look at it more in a biblical sense.
In a biblical sense?
Yeah, because feelings, it's like happiness and joy. The difference is happiness happens because something is happening. That's why we call it you are happy. Whereas joy, it's more sustenance. It is not determined by what's happening around you, which is why the Bible does not necessarily promise us happiness, but the joy of the Lord. Those are the things. If we treat love, because if love is an emotion, that means it can end.
You are right, because a lot of married people cannot attest that they love their spouse.
Yes.
Every day.
Yes.
Hey.
But most of us are not struggling with love. Love is what we have. What makes relationship is losing the like part. Because love is what I have. But if I don't like you, I can't
like
live with you.
Joy.
Yeah, I like one card. I enjoy your presence. Because once like goes away, that means I don't like you. I love you, but I don't enjoy your company because I don't like you. There are people that you like, and when they come, you enjoy their company. And there are people that you don't like, but it doesn't mean when you don't like someone, you don't love them. So you like something that you find interesting.
Hey, Bond. Haman's grand, papa. So, no. I've heard you loud and clear there.
Yes,
I think you've answered a lot of questions I had in my mind. So let's take it to a family structure, right? How many times has mental health caused divorce, and how many times did dealing with mental health make divorce a possibility?
I'm not sure. I don't have stats now, but I think mental health, if not well taken care of, it affects everything. It doesn't only destroy marriage; it destroys your life. From destroying your life, it will destroy your marriage. I mean, an example that is mostly famous is addiction. That's a mental illness. Addiction is an illness, and that is why they would always tell you once you are diagnosed with addiction, you manage it. It doesn't get healed. It doesn't go up.
Doesn't matter what addiction.
No, whether it's alcohol, substances, pornography, whatever. Some people are addicted to food. Some people are addicted to things like sex. So addiction.
That's a good addiction.
No. If it's an addiction, it can't be good. It's gonna be problematic. Because remember, if you have an addiction, you're the only one who has it, and that way you get to a space. For example, if I have a lot of addiction, that means my wife would not necessarily be able to feed it.
How can you get a second wife?
That's the problem. You understand? Because you probably cheat, probably get a second wife. So if you are traditionally allowed to do that, then it's not a problem. But as a Christian, I always feel it's a problem.
I am rude. We are go home,
I gig novela commend.
Is polygamy is not allowed?
I will not answer that unless you want to push for it. But one of the things I will tell you that whenever you look at principles tamudim, you always go back to the first mentioned principle. You can't go to a principle that is discussed later, because the one that's discussed later can be explained by other things like culture. But the first mentioned principles, it tells you the initial idea God had.
God made
Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve.
Yes.
Okay.
So when you go to Abraham having more than one wife, it's because when God called Adam, Adam was not born again. It's interesting that born again Christians want to compare themselves with non-born again Christians, or rather non-born again people, because Adam was not saved. He was not a Christian. Or Abraham was not a Christian. Jesus himself was not a Christian. So when you have a born again Christian who would look and say, but Abraham had five wives. Yes, he was not born again. Anyway, I don't know why we came here.
Oh my goodness. So my second wife is gone, just like
gone.
Hey, I'm being born again. So when a husband or a wife, when they beat each other up, is that mental health?
It depends. Remember that it could just be an emotional challenge, that they are struggling with emotions. It could be issues with communication. There are a lot of things that when you come into a husband and a wife that comes in, because I do see some couples, when they come, you have to assess what is their challenge. Some it's communication, some it's emotional expression. And all of them come together, they cause a problem. I would ask a lot of people, maybe you can help me with that. What are the most important thing in a relationship?
Besides sex?
Yeah.
Communication?
Communication. Communication. So others would choose your respect, love, and more often than not, people leave one of the most important one, fighting. Fighting is an important aspect of a relationship.
Serious?
Yes. The only problem is people in a relationship fight ineffectively. There's a quote that says, if you and your wife stop fighting, either one of you or both of you have given up on the relationship.
Hey, say that again.
If you and your wife stop fighting, either one of you or both of you have given up on that relationship. So this person is sitting there and saying, there's nothing to fight for, I want out. But as long as you keep fighting, it shows that I still want this thing to work.
Okay, just to put it into context, we're talking about verbal altercation.
No verbal. Physical,
not
we
physical,
take it to jail. Physical, physical, we make sure. Now when I'm talking about fighting, I'm talking about we'll have arguments because we are two different people. And if I can fight to convince you to agree to my point, it's a sign that you're important to me.
I still care.
And you must see the world from my side.
So when I get irritated sometimes, I just choose to keep quiet.
Yeah, but you keep quiet because of you are scared of the kind of fight you might get. But what happens when you keep quiet? When people say I was quiet for peace sake, I will ask, whose peace?
My peace?
No. When you keep quiet, then you start having that argument that you're supposed to have with your wife, with yourself. Then it starts to boil up within.
But that's what women do. Before you get home, the argument is 30 minutes in.
No.
When you get there, when you get there, and it's situational awareness.
Yes, but
and you realize certain things are not worth fighting for.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. That when you decide something is not worth fighting for, you are two in the relationship. If your partner feels it's worth fighting for, you are taking that away from them. Because remember, you're not alone in that relationship. So when you say there are things that your partner would come in, you'd feel this is a small matter. But the fact that they brought it to you, you should be aware that then it's important to her. It might not be to me. You understand me? And that when you say it is 30 minutes beyond the fight, that's why I said people fight ineffectively. Once you carry something in, You are waiting for the day to release it, and that's ineffective, because if you effectively fight, it's going to help you build your marriage.
Correct. And if you don't wait for it to bottle up,
Yes.
you can present it in a respectful manner that can be resolved, hopefully, in a better way.
Have you realized that if you do that, most of your fights will start with one thing, end up with another thing after 10 things in the middle? So we'll start fighting with this bottle, and then the next thing about the door that was not closed yesterday, and the shower that was left open, and ultimately you can't solve your problem, because at the same fight you're presenting more than 10 problems at the same time.
Of course.
And then you get angry, you go to sleep. Somehow sleep has that thing to make you feel better.
When you sleep, you apologize to each other.
Yes. And then when you apologize to each other, you don't go back to that. In fair fighting, we say is that if you're fighting, it's like when you play chess. You know chess again.
Yeah, chess.
When you're in a stalemate, you can't win. But you will never know you're in a stalemate until one of you realizes it. And when you're in a stalemate, you have to say, stop. Let's start. That's what you do in a fight. When you're fighting and you are now in a stalemate, you can say, no, but we are not getting anywhere. Let's stop. Let's retreat.
Okay. So a fight like this. So at home, I used to take my pet when I come home, and I change my clothes. So I'd leave them in the bathroom, in the bathroom. I'd leave it there. She'd be like, "Why are you doing this? There's no washing basket."
Yeah.
No, no, man, you must have a washing basket. And I can't buy it because you want the one that you want.
Yes.
And now the problem is solved that she bought a washing, but it was a fight for the longest time.
Yes.
What was I supposed to do in that?
Let me give you an analogy. Have you ever watched boxing?
Watch boxing?
Yeah.
Yes.
What happens when the bell rings?
You stop.
No, when before the game, they fight. They go with that ball.
Yeah.
The lady goes out, the bell rings, you are in your corners.
Yeah.
What do? You come in the middle.
Yeah.
So in most relationship, we always wait on what I want, and they sit on what they want. It's like in a boxing ring. After the bell is ring, the one in the corner is waiting for the other one in the corner, and they're all waiting for each other to say, "I'm not gonna start to do what needs to be done." And then so you have to do what I want. She says you have to do what I want, and you are waiting like this. The best thing to do is you always come with your ideas. She always comes with hers. You must find a common ground when you build something. So it's cover idea how that is right. It's cover idea how it's right. It's the idea that we've agreed upon that we have a problem area. Let's discuss it. How do we deal with it? Then you have an agreement that you come up with. Then you are able to then know when now this person crosses it. It is not their preference, or it's not either one of their preferences. What you both agreed on. That's fair fighting. You always need to know what you're fighting for.
No. But look at the answer to how your wife is here.
Yes.
What has a bottle? You are saving for later.
In everything you must score points.
So
Yeah.
A lot of people say mental health will most probably attack you when you are young. So I need to ask this way: if your wife or girlfriend is pregnant, and you keep saying, "But I told you I didn't want that baby," can the baby feel the rejection, and can the baby feel the unwant?
I'm not sure. One of the things that I've realized, the fact that we are more connected emotionally to our children. But when you are not there, I'm not sure if that bond is, because remember, one of the challenges we sit with especially as a child, it has to do with attachments. So how a baby grows, or how is it taken for, it determines what kind of attachment they're going to have, and that determines the kind of behavior they're going to have in the future. For example, a baby that is given a safe environment, growing up, taken care of, they tend to have what we call, I'll refer to it as a good attachment. It's not the right one, where they are able to explore their environment safely. So if the environment does not allow attachment, an ambivalent attachment, they want to trust the world, but they can't. So they get reserved. But I'm not sure if it has to do with, it does not necessarily have to be a parent. Attachment can be done by your grandmother. Any caregiver can actually provide that space for the child to be able to have maybe a much better attachment or a relationship with their environment.
So, but just so now you are using English.
Yes.
Just so I understand you. Rejection in general can cause you to doubt yourself.
Not necessarily. Remember that it depends how confident you are. For example, if you have had struggles, you've grown up with rejection and everything, that can have an impact in your life. There are certain people that they've learned how to deal with rejection. If you are rejected, they know how to respond to that. There are people who then struggle with a sense of belonging. Such people will struggle with rejection. Because remember that the reason they have a sense of belonging, it's someone who's never belonged. And if you keep rejecting them, it's almost like repeating what their life story is about. No one really wants me.
I see what you say.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move straight to Abazalwane.
Yes, yes.
I think, yeah. So, I'm going to ask questions like a 5-year-old. No?
Yes.
So, with what you've explained, pastors can go through mental health.
Yes.
Ne?
Yes.
And you can see this pastor is unwell.
Yes.
Are you correct?
Yes, yes.
Sometimes you can hear with the preachings, or sometimes you can hear it from socially.
Yes,
You
yes.
can hear it.
Yeah, yeah.
So what are the steps if you can see that now the pastor is, because at the end of the day, pastors lead a community and a congregation. And if you as a psychologist, you obviously can't diagnose them from
Yes,
there.
from
But
there.
you can see signs.
Yes, yes.
Is there a way of intercepting and say, Muruti, I think you must take a break. We need to come and consult. Can you force a pastor to do that?
It depends. For example, one of the first things is this person a danger to themselves, or is he a danger to others? You understand me? In that case, yes, you can. For even with you can. If let's say I'm now unwell, but I don't want to go to hospital. There are policies that are there. For example, you can call the police, you can call the ambulance to take me to hospital. Hospitals, there are 3 types of admissions.
Wait. So if you see somebody, if you suspect somebody's not well,
Yes.
you can call the police and call the ambulance.
The ambulance.
They can forcefully take that person.
Yes.
And you can even falsely accuse somebody of.
No. Remember that when the reason you would have to call the ambulances, they have a bit of training with that. But the bigger thing is for them to get to hospital and be assessed. Because you taking me falsely, I can still see that, but what you are saying and what is presented in front of me is not the same. Because remember that we are trained to see how to identify this kind of illness and how to do it.
All right, cool. Yes, you can carry on. No, you were saying about.
No, I was saying a pastor, for example. I think one of the things that most of them would be missed. Mostly pastors, especially Christians, those who are quite devout, they'd be missed if they have a mental illness, because let me give an example. I like sharing this joke to say, as Umzalwane Sontweni, the church is burning and you are at the back. How do you want the Christians?
When you say fire, you'll think
yeah, they'll come back with you. So, so that's the challenge we're sitting with. That, and also in the Christian space, mental illness, it's seen as more of a spiritual thing than an illness. You understand? It has to do with a lot of witchcraft, and we can cast it. And I've heard people speak about depression as if I'll cast that depression out.
Yes.
And I don't, as a Christian and a spiritual person, I don't deny that there are instances that some of the illnesses we have could be spiritually caused. But it can't just be mental illness. All the other illnesses can be spiritually caused. But we are able to, it's easier for people to do the focus on the mental illness because of the kind of people that might be seen. Because sometimes when you say mental illness, people only think of people who are psychotic. But mental illness is wide. It includes how you manage your stress. It has nothing to do with someone just going around picking up papers. That's a very small part of mental illness. It's bigger than that. You understand? So you find that a lot of pastors are suicidal. So more,
is it the stress?
Yes, the stress. They are more depressed and they are more what do you call it? they are more under pressure because they can't come and tell you that Akeshap, because he's a pastor, he's supposed to be
we've
strong.
put them on a pedestal.
Yeah, I mean, these people have a direct link to God. They can just call and God answers. And most, even with Christians, they tend not to take care of themselves. They see someone with depression as someone weak, or someone with a mental illness, be it bipolar, as them weak. And they tend not to look for help. And that's where the challenge we sit with.
There's something strange about mental health. So there's a pastor, we both know him, and we can't say him by name. Ne? He started losing his marbles. But hey, when you see his quotes on Facebook, oh Lord, this person is throwing bombs and he's making sense.
Yes.
But socially they are otherwise.
Yes.
The same thing.
Is this, remember, there's, like I said, mental health is when you are depressed, you don't lose your mind. You still can think. It's just that you have the symptoms of depression. You understand me? And when you, for example, when you have bipolar, it's just different with poles in moods. You have the manic phase and the depressive phase. When you're in the manic phase, it looks like your brain is not okay, but you are not psychotic. Manic phase, you can have what we call my language has run away, but you have what we call a running thoughts, whereby you see, as I speak to you, you are able to talk to me but thinking of something else without even attending to it. But when someone is in the manic phase, whatever idea that comes into their heads, they entertain it. I will be speaking like this, and all of a sudden I'm speaking about the door, and all of a sudden and they're quick. And when you listen to them, it's not that they're not okay, but when they settle down, they say they're goal orientated. So when they do something that they have to achieve, they become good at achieving that. Those are the things that this person might have depression, might have bipolar, but they are able to cope. We have functional addicts. Someone that will never function without drugs, and they're quite successful. They're making money. They're good at what they do, but they are addicted to substances.
Yeah. No, I've heard you. So now there's a new trend now of these churches that are sprouting all over, of churches of papas, prophets, and these prophets have taken over. I'd argue and say the world, but we'll say South Africa for now. And because in when you study psychology, they call it, what do they call it? Hypnosis.
Yes.
So mental intellect, how much does it have to do with hypnosis? Because with these churches, I feel like these pastors are doing something. Have you ever seen people religiously following a person? And when you look at it, you realize, no, man, there's no way in your right mind you can follow some of these things that are happening. Bizarre things, eating grass. You ask yourself, sure. And people will explain, but no, the things of the spirit don't have to make sense to you, and all that stuff. So where is that where is there a tie with hypnosis, mental health? Where do these two tie?
I have done a bit of hypnosis in my training, but it was not in details. Hypnosis doesn't happen the way it's presented. Mostly on TV, it's more or less entertainment. Hypnosis has a lot to do with your brain has the ability to say, so when something doesn't make sense, it allows you to block it. With hypnosis, it's your ability to get to that and try to diminish that. But I don't think it's hypnosis there. Remember that these people are systematic. When some, because I was watching other things. For example, there's 5 of us. In the 5 of us, no, the pastor doesn't know us, and then we all have financial problems. It's one aspect I had someone talking about. I know how true is that. If it's not, then I'll be corrected. But then the pastor comes and says, I need these people to give, and maybe I promise them, for example, miracle money. What we do is say, Komoto owes 10,000 and Ponzo owes 10. So what we are going to do, we are going to pay that 25,000. Komoto's 10, Mamang's 10, and they will come and testify. That Ghana ups the what do you call that? they believe in people because they see something that is tangible. Sometimes they fabricate them and make you believe that this has happened. You understand me? So it is not something that it's sprouting now, but it's something that has been developing systematically for a long
years,
time.
no?
Yeah, if you look at those which you are referring to, it's not something they started now. We only started to realize them when they became famous. But they have years of indoctrinating, doing things. It's like when someone is in an abusive relationship and you ask, why is this person not leaving that relationship? One of the things a lot of us don't understand is the fact that people that are abused are groomed for that abuse. It's a grooming that takes years. When it starts to happen, the person is ready to be abused. So that's how you'd always get it when you come with people. So so you'll be sitting with these people who are constantly, slowly, this miracle there, that miracle there, miracle money there, and slowly what happens? Word of mouth. I was in that church, that lady was in a wheelchair, I was in that road. All of a sudden people start coming to see for that. And now you also have a need. And there's a promise of miracle money if you give 1,000 rand, and you already have 3 people testifying for that. So it's almost working with your mind.
Ah, I see. But you see doctors, you see people driving big cars outside these churches.
Yeah, being a doctor doesn't mean you are smart. Someone once said, we have a lot of educated fools.
Right.
So being educated doesn't make you smart. You understand me? And also you can be smart, but doesn't mean that you are rich. Being a doctor doesn't mean you are rich. You have people who are in debt, and yet they look okay. And the reason they're in debt is because they wanted to look okay. They wanted to buy that car.
Yeah.
Because it will make me look good. I'm a doctor, I can't be driving that car. You get into debts. And that is why one of the biggest things that is growing in our country is what? Phone gambling.
Really?
Yeah, it's here. You don't remember the let I'll use that as an example. If you think about it, we have people who would have 500 rands and owe 2,500. Instead of going to the person they owe to say, can I give you 200 rands? I'll just small by small. Most people would say, if I can just put this go betting system,
I might just get all that money at once.
Or I can get more than that. You understand me? And now, ask yourself how someone is scammed over a phone about a heritage of a person's name that they don't know. It's desperation.
100%.
So these people, whether they are doctors or they're still desperate, the reason that doctor came in there is because there is something he has a need for, and someone told me you will get it there.
I see. All right. There are people who can't, and I have to make example Kabazan because of the space. You know?
Yes.
Who can't be absent from church, whether their child is playing soccer, whether their child is graduating, whether their child is getting married. They feel, I cannot miss church. I can rather miss your wedding. Is that mental health?
I wouldn't say that. Remember that you could be committed to something. I would not say it's a mental illness, but it has something to do with one not getting their priorities right. And remember that how my priorities are arranged also, it's not something that you can determine for me. I can determine for myself. So I can make those decisions. I would not classify it as it could be, you understand me? It could be that you are more attached to it, but on a face value, it could simply mean that this is more important to me than that. That's why I told you earlier when we spoke that when you look into a relationship, what your partner may bring as small to you, it's big to her. So for me, I could be for you. Your preference is my kids come first, and for me is if God comes first, then He will take care of these kids. It's a different thinking or different thoughts that an individual might have.
As a smart person once told me, very smart guy. Ari, remember, if I'm not at church, somebody can step in and do what I'm supposed to do.
Yes.
But if not in my child's life, a replacement is very hard as a father.
Yes.
Do you know that guy?
Yes, I know that guy.
I told me that, ne?
Yes, I did. I did tell you
Why
that.
have I had that credit?
It's me who said it.
And that got me thinking about a lot of things, you know.
Yes, yes.
And with this, I'm not saying people shouldn't go to church, but I've seen that commitment, and I feel like even the Bible, everything must be done in moderation. You
Yes.
know, I think it's very important to not forget certain people in our lives.
In our lives, no, I think
With the thing, so now I thought, man, people are probably mad, but we really handle how it's
it's a preference. Someone, what you just said sounded smart to you, and or some are thinking these are not spiritual people. It happens, and we can't take that away from them, and it doesn't make them any less spiritual than I am.
Yeah.
It's just that I have my own preference. I strongly believe that my first ministry is my family. I believe that if I can't be a pastor to you and not be a pastor at home, I can't take care of all your needs at churches, and then I can then I fail to take care of the needs at home.
At home.
Even the Bible says that when one wants to be a bishop, he must be the one who's be able to take care of the affairs of their homes.
Ne?
So it's the first thing.
But that one I told you, Nike Sharp about Bishop. So the last one I need to ask you before we do a rewind again.
Yes.
Dementia.
Yes.
Hey. Dementia. You know why I'm asking specifically about dementia? Ne? My grandmother, ne? Who is your aunt.
Yes. Yes.
That's right, ne?
Yes.
I think, because I'm not a psycho, I think she suffers from it, ne? I'll tell you why. So, back opposite Kohai, ne? The granny, they passed away. And they came on the fence. Hey, come here. Gogo, we just want to let you know that Gogo just passed away. You know, where's Mama? No, they went out. Gogo went out. But when they come back, I'll definitely tell them. Cool. So when they come back, I said to Gogo, your friend, but Ushoni, look, Gogo. Oh, shame. You know? And then she said there. Then I went to the shops. When I came back, hey, what's that? Ungarazi. But Gogo Shoni. I'm like, but Gogo, I tell you,
I'm the one who
I told you. Or who again? So
Yes.
I was doing something in the house. I came out. Hey, what's that? Then I realized something is wrong.
Yes.
Gogo Shonil. Then I realized, man, this is something, you know.
Yeah, there's something else.
So in the beginning, I used to laugh at it until I started reading a bit more about dementia and asking you questions, and I realized that this dementia is big. Can you please explain dementia in a nutshell?
Dementia in a nutshell, it's an illness that comes mostly with aging and growing. I think the age where it mostly is an onset is around 65 years, if I'm not making mistakes. So it has to do with, it affects functioning for people. It can be affecting mostly memory. So memory affecting it in a sense that you can forget, or you might be in a different time zone. The person can speak to you as if it's 20 years ago. You get that. And some of them would struggle with their daily living. For example, one example I always like to give is mostly the people that are caught naked at the grandmas. It's mostly people suffering from dementia.
You're right. You find that in the rural areas,
Yes.
you'll find somebody naked in your yard.
Yes.
And they'll beat them up and they say it's a witch.
It's a witch, yes. And when you get dementia, this person left their bed going to the toilet. Even if the toilet is inside the house. But remember that their memories are affected, they are functioning. Even when they are opening the door, even if they walk out of their yard, going into their yard, in their mind they are thinking, I am going to the toilet. And once they are in that state, we say they are suggestible. Suggestible means whatever I ask you, when it's directly, you'll agree to it. So if you are suggestible, if I say kids are more suggestible, if you are to say to a child, are you hungry? He's going to say yes. Are you not hungry? He's going to say yes. So at that stage, they are suggestible. When you start saying, they will say, no, mama, because they are suggestible at that stage. And ultimately, someone once said, but are you saying only grannies are witches? Because we do have witches that are very young. And how come you've never
Caught them.
because these ones are older people, they are sick. and you experience that. Unfortunately, some of the things that are happening, I don't know, it's the kind of lifestyle we are living. The early onset seems to be on the rise, so people are getting it quite younger. Yeah, but I know that with your grandma, she's quite old.
She's old, eh?
Yeah.
No, she forgets, eh?
Yeah.
But so, am I wrong in doing this? So I like to play around with her. And she'll give me answers. And then it made me get used to it.
Yes.
Because I believe her, but she doesn't remember. So
No, she won't remember.
If I play with her a bit, is it okay?
And I think with that, I'm not sure if it's okay or not. But I don't think it will affect them because they won't remember it, because some worst case scenario, you would get at home, sit for an hour, and they don't know who you are.
You see, for me, my granny doesn't remember any of my friends.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care how many times they came to
the house. Yes.
She doesn't remember all of them. But things that happened 40, she remembers properly.
Yeah, we say that the memory is retro. So everything that happened retro, she remembers. Remember that you can have retro, you can have current, and you can have immediate. Immediate is something that happens now. So even what we call amnesia can happen in the. Some people might forget what happened in the past, and others can forget what happens now, and what happens recently. So if it's way back, then it's retro. Then they remember that.
All right. Muruti.
Yes.
Malome.
Yes, Mutlowolo.
You see, no tapping, you know. But you see, that's a problem. You see.
Yeah, but that's exactly like I was telling someone when you play with my son that this guy is playing with his cousin, and the cousin is on his knees height. So I think our family has a different dynamic.
You behave like an ANC. Tomile pila.
Yeah, go feel like Yes.
Malum, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your efforts. We just beat a corner.
Oh yeah.
As an intro, how many years to study this?
Psychology.
Yeah.
It's 6. I have 3 degrees for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I said how many years? The degree.
No, it's important. I think one of the other thing is it's important for people to know.
To know is very important. So we can't grasp everything you learn.
Yes, that's true.
So today,
Yeah.
We're gonna go up the knee next time.
No.
So the next portion of our conversation, we're gonna be talking about specifically musicians.
Yes.
But I don't want you to leave, You see, I've put a mic for you there.
Oh yeah.
I'd like you to sit there so we can welcome a brother.
All right.
A brother.
Let me just stretch it.
Yeah, no. Stretch. No.